fellow guitar geeks, this is the Hammertone Distortion from Fender. We've got fuzz, we've got overdrive, and now we've got distortion. So let's see how this little orange knobbed beastie does. In this video, I'll be playing the pedal with several different guitars, putting it through several different amps, the Fender Deluxe Reverb, the Marshall SV20, and the Boss Katana. I'll also be opening it up and have a look inside, the pedal that is, not the Boss Katana. And at the end of the video, I'll give you my review and tell you if I think you should buy it or not. So, without further ado, let's have a little listen to my top 5 tones. That was fun for me, hopefully for you as well. The top 5 tones thing I always record without any preparation, just impromptu. I grab a guitar that I sort of aim for that sort of tone, so with humbuckers I'm going for something a bit more distorted, with the single coils I'm going for something a bit more raspy in this case, and I just dial in something that I think might sound good until I perfect this tone that's in my head. And that distortion pedal has quite a wide range of tones on offer and really reacts well to single coils, humbuckers, and active pickups as well in that Squier Starcaster. With the orange knobs, I was expecting something DS-1, but it's actually kind of more full, more fat than that. And that could be down to the fact that we've got an active EQ, so active treble, active bass, then we've got gain and level, and that raspiness on that sort of single coil thing that I did had the gain really super low, and it still did this cutting, gripping thing. Now, in the fuzz pedal and the overdrive pedal, which I've done, and you can see the links to those videos in the video description, there's a trim pot inside, which adjusts the high frequency stuff to do with the pedal. In this distortion, you've got not only the high frequency adjust, you've also got a mid-range adjust as well. So, the most logical thing to do now is to open up that pedal and mess with the trim pots. So, here it comes. Right. The good news is you can open up these pedals with a coin or a flathead screwdriver, or if you don't do it too tight, you can do it with your fingers. Being able to do that by hand or with a coin and not lose the screw because it gets stuck in there is a really big plus for these pedals, I think, because having to undo something to access trim pots or a battery compartment and needing a screwdriver is a bit of a pain in the butt. That being said, if you are adjusting trim pots, you do need a screwdriver. But for the battery thing, that's brilliant. So at the top, we've got the mid-range trim pot, and at the bottom, we've got the high-pass filter. So that cuts out any fizziness. It says around 4 kilohertz. But let's see where it is right now. It is... Oh, it was about 75%. And this mid-range one, in the middle, it says, has no effect. If you go below the midway point, it cuts. If you go above, it boosts. Okay, it was about the midway. So there's that, and there's that. That's about the midway. Let's have a little play and see how it affects the sound. So let's set that at around half. It's easier for me to see it on the screen. Halfway, halfway, and about halfway as well. Now let's mess with trim pots. Let's first do the mid-range. Now I felt that, first I was doing the mid-range by the way, then I did the high pass. I felt the pedal was a little bit too dark, and so far you've been hearing it through the Fender Deluxe Reverb, which you can't see. There it is. Fender Deluxe Reverb, where the other pedals I did to the Marshall, and I will demo these 3 amps in a moment. But I found that in the Marshall it was far too dark, and I'm really glad to say that adding a little bit of that high pass, or taking away that the low pass I should say, really does give it a little bit more top end without having to boost those trebles, which made it brittle. That's with the mid-range all the way up as well. Let's take that all the way down. Come on. So we're cutting mid-range now. This is all the mid-range cut. That's a sound. The problem is, these trim pots being on the inside, I'm actually making what I think are interesting sounds that I wish the trim pots were on the outside so I didn't have to keep flipping the pedal. So, same lick again. I like both. So for me that's an undesirable tone. I would keep that high pass all the way up and then using the active EQ, the treble and the bass, really fiddle with that. But that mid-range is confusing me because I like it all the way up. I also like it somewhere in the middle. Let's put it back in the middle. I don't know. There's 2 very nice sounds for me. I think I prefer it all the way up. The mid just boosted, giving us a really clear distortion sound. I love distortion, and I think having some tweakability really helps. That's the first Fender pedal I've done that has these trim pots, which I think make a huge difference. So the fuzz and the overdrive, I just left them completely open, and with this, I seem to have found a sweet spot that works with this guitar, which is really annoying because I hate trim pots. There should be pots on the outside. There's a little mod for you if you fancy a little project. Darn it. So now that I've found a tone that I like, that pokey mid-range and that heavy distortion with lots and lots of harmonics, I think it's time to try it through the other amps. I've got the Ibanez AZES40, which is an affordable guitar. It's a little bit smaller than a standard Strat, and I make Strats look small, so it's not a very small guitar, but it is a little smaller than regular. Let's try it through the Marshall SV20 and the Boss Katana set to clean. So first up, let's hear the Fender Deluxe Reverb clean, which is not actually that clean with the humbucker. But it is really dynamic. Distortion on, lose the dynamics, actually sounds a little bit quieter. Let's do the same with the Marshall, so clean first. A lot warmer, so with the distortion, might round that out a bit. It sounds like there's a mid-scoop there. I really don't like this distortion pedal with the Marshall SV20. Fuzz, overdrive, brilliant. But this distortion with the Marshall SV20, for me, doesn't do it. Let's try the Katana. So, clean. The amp still surprises me. Holds its own. Okay. And now I'll run through the three amps just very quickly. Fender, then Marshall, then Boss. Again, my favorite is the Fender. Boss coming in slightly in second place. There's just not the harmonics that I'm getting from the Fender, but the Fender is definitely more crunchy than the Boss, and the Marshall sounds just a bit flat. But I could probably push that by pushing up the treble on the amp. Let's just try that for a second. So Marshall, a bit more treb. Yeah, alright, it's back there. Honestly, this pedal does sound good through all three amps. My favourite Fender, Boss, then Marshall. Didn't expect that. So back to the Deluxe Reverb, and let's sweep that treble and bass active EQ. So, there's loads of bass there. It was actually making my chair vibrate, and there's loads of top end making my ears want to fall off and die. But, without using my eyes, just using my ears, I dialed in something that I think sounds good. Yeah, there's lots there. So if you've got a guitar that needs more bass, this is going to give it to you. If you've got a really toppy guitar and you need to back it off, it sounds like this is going to give it to you as well. So there's a cut and a boost. Brilliant. Let's do the same with the gain. So... Okay, now I'm hearing that top fizziness that Fender was talking about in the manual. So now I would take off, with the gain at the top, take off that high filters using the trim pot on the back. See if that fixes that fizziness. So it seems that I've put the pedal back to where Fender had set it before I started fiddling around with it, which means that Fender probably know what they're doing with this distortion, and their engineers actually know how to set it. But that's because I was playing with the high gain stuff. If I was doing something slightly lower gain and something more bassy and a more bassy guitar, it's nice to have that low pass filter there so you can just open up the highs a little bit. But I'm surprised that, I'm surprised that it's set where it should be, where I like it, and I'm setting it with my ears rather than my eyes. So yeah, that's cool. Well done, Fender. This pedal is coming in at around $79. I mean, that's the street price because, you know, that's what Fender recommend. You will find it cheaper when you go to your either local store or online thing. I've got some links in the video description if you want to buy it from Sweetwater or Thomann, and it is cheaper on there. I'm pretty impressed with this distortion pedal. It's certainly not the best distortion I've ever used, but there is a wide variety of tones, and it is more versatile than a Ret. It is not as fizzy as a DS-1, but it doesn't quite have the harmonic noise capability that a DS-1 has. So I am missing some of that anger from a DS-1. But if you want something more in the middle range that isn't too extreme, I think the distortion does it well. And if you need more, there's the metal from Fender. And if you need less, then there's the overdrive or the fuzz. So the whole range seems to be catering for those four types of, or the four main types of distortion overdrive. Fuzz, overdrive, distortion, metal. Yeah, so I think that sits nicely above the overdrive, and I've got another video coming with the metal, so we'll see if it sits below that metal thing. Well done. It's well thought out, it's well built. I wish the trim pots were on the outside, but it is kind of a set and forget. So ideally I'd be tweaking to my heart's content because I play lots of different guitars. But if you find that you just have one guitar or one main guitar and one main amp, then you need to set that to where you like it. Might be where Fender set it, might not. But the good thing is you can't break it by messing with those trim pots. And often with like fuzz pedals and things, you can really screw up the overall squelchiness of a fuzz pedal by messing around with something screwdriver related inside a pedal. And that access to the pedal on the inside is phenomenal. So all I needed was my lucky coin and crack it open, and there we go. That's brilliant for quick changes of batteries. Top mounted jacks, 9 volts. The design leaves a little bit to be desired. I love the knobs. The switch, good, very switchy. And you've got a little Fender logo down here, but I don't know. I like it. I'd rather them spend the money on the inside of the pedal and the build quality than paying someone a lot of money to make a wonderful, wonderful graphic. And also it keeps it understated. It keeps you aware that these are affordable pedals and not they're high quality pedals. They're more expensive pedals. So Fender have, let's not make it too pretty, otherwise it'll look like our pretty expensive pedals. So internally, they are pretty similar. That's the overdrive, that's the distortion. You've got the same I/O board, you've got the same foot switch board, you've got the same sort of daughter connectors. Everything here looks very similar. Of course, the circuit board, the main board, is different. But generally speaking, the way the company is saving money and making these cheaper is having a very similar board. Or very similar layout, I should say. And there is nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong at all. We're saving money. We're getting 2 different sounds. I don't care if that's the same pedal with a different chip in it. The fact that it sounds different is all important. And that's it from me and the Fender Hammertone Distortion. A pedal that you may not need, but for that price, why not? It's pretty affordable. You've made it to the end of the video, which means that you are a member of the End of the Video Club, and to prove that you are a member of this prestigious elite, when you leave your comment telling me what you think of the Fender Hammertone Distortion, please also include the phrase, internal trim pots! And that'll let me know that you watched this part. It's a bit of fun, and the YouTube gods will shine their rewards down on me merrily, and my future shall be bright and rosy and full of more distortion pedals. Thank you. That leaves me to say, if you haven't subscribed yet, why not? Go and click that button. I'm fun and entertaining and sometimes informative. There is the next pedal in the Hammertone series over there. Otherwise, leave a thumbs up or a super thumbs down by clicking that thumbs down twice. And I'll see you in another video. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.